All right, guys, Saturday, October 25th, and beautiful day. No adventures on the agenda. Between the climbing and the 10 miles I ran yesterday, my body is very sore, so taking a day off of adventures is not gonna really hurt my feelings too bad at this time. So the plan is finally tackle those rear axle seals. It's a pretty big job. I've never done this type of particular job before, so that just is what it is. But I did watch a YouTube video, and it does not necessarily look impossible. It looks actually pretty necessarily doable. It's already 11:30, so I'm thinking this parking lot has some decent amount of street lights. So I was quoted $475 for Firestone to do this job for me, and I spent $140 on parts at O'Reilly's. So I'm only like 8 minutes away from the nearest O'Reilly's, and I'm like 40 minutes away from the nearest Harbor Freight. But I'm doing this in the parking lot. So I met a dude at REI last night named Jacob Sellers, and he's letting me do this in his apartment parking lot, so that's sick. And while I was at REI yesterday, I bought some climbing shoes, which is also a little bit exciting. So the climbing shoes were pretty expensive. $100, $107 for the ones I got. And they go up to like 230 something, like ridiculous. So but I'm pretty excited. I was thinking to buy used, but then I would have had to drive around the countryside, drive all over the place. Probably like the first pair that I went for wouldn't have fit. And if I have any issues at all with fitment at this point, I can just return them in a year because it's REI. So anyways, I got my tools all set out just now. I got my drain pan under the van, so that should be pretty much everything that I need to do for now, aside from just do the thing. So I've been in Denver area, Boulder area for a pretty good while. Like, I think I've burned less than a half tank of gas in the last week, and I don't know how well you can see this, but the rear tire is wet. So, and it looked a lot worse when I was at the grocery store this morning, but you can see the fluid. It's not brake fluid. The brake line is the brass line right there. So it's gear oil, and there's a seal on the other side. Pull the axle out. That's what I'm gonna do. So this will be the third time in a week that the wheels have came off of this van, because I took them off to do the drum brakes. Then Firestone took them off to inspect the work, and they said everything looks good besides the axle seals leaking, and they say it's leaking on both sides, which I haven't noticed both sides personally. I've only noticed this driver's side, and now they're coming off again, because essentially I need to take the differential all apart, and it's gonna be a pain in the butt for sure. But I need to take the differential apart. So if I'm doing all that, which isn't really a lot, but it's gonna suck. I'm gonna have to replace the gasket. Gasket's 16 bucks. I'm gonna have to replace the fluid. That's like 60 bucks. So might as well just do it while the differential's empty, and while I have somewhere to park and do this. Even though there's a crap ton of leaves on the ground, it's not ideal, but whatever. And the other thing is I'm parked right under a tree. So I'm probably not gonna have a heap of solar. I'm probably gonna run out of solar sooner than later, because right now I'm collecting absolutely zero sun. All right, so got the wheel off, got the rotor off, and here we can see my brand new shoes coated in the oil, the gear oil. Not good. Not good at all. There's also gear oil all over my hands already just from taking the wheel off. So next step is going to be, and this stuff stinks horrendously. Next step is going to be use that drain pan to remove the differential cover. You'll notice my differential cover is painted, and that would be because I've already serviced the differential once before I took this trip. I just didn't do the axle seals at the time because I didn't know they needed it, or actually didn't even know it was a thing. But here we are. Okay, so at this point I used my large ratchet, my extended one, to break all of these bolts loose. And they really weren't on there very tight because I think the torque spec they use is very low. It's like 30 foot-pounds or something low like that. And this little guy is just easier to get in and out with, you know? So they're all loose. Should start seeing fluid start draining out pretty soon. And sometimes what happens with these covers is they actually get stuck on a little bit, so you have to tap it off or even pry it. But what you got to do is you got to leave the top bolt in place. So this is I want to say it's a 8/8. I'm like pretty confident in that. So this van has got the Ford 8.8 inch differential. It's supposed to be incredibly reliable, but this is just this is basically just maintenance that, you know, everything needs axle seals replaced at some point. Nothing lasts forever, you know. But only got the top 3 to go, and I'm really wanting to see some leakage going on. It's not, so might have to go grab a screwdriver and tap it or pry it out a little bit. Alright, so I am getting some fluid drippage. Getting real close here. This would be so much faster if I had power tools. I was really debating bringing my electric ratchet on this trip, and I was like, no, what am I gonna need an electric ratchet for? Well, it would have came in handy. Alright, so I got all but the top bolt, and the top bolt is finger loose, so we're getting some drips. And if I were to undo that bolt completely, it'd make an enormous mess. I'm trying to see if I can't just pry with my fingers, get this cover off. It's on there. Okay. Yeah. All right, have I mentioned how bad this stuff stinks? It's horrible. And the fluid is nasty, which it looks very nasty for, you know, I don't think it should look that bad for how old the fluid is. Definitely seen worse, but doesn't look too bad. What you're really looking for here is metal chunks, or lack of metal chunks is really what you want. And the last time I did this, I thoroughly cleaned the inside. I'm probably not going to be as extensive this time because I'm basically just in here for a quick service type of deal. Alright, so if you've never seen the inside of a differential, this is what this looks like. This right here is the pin that needs to be removed, and this is the, you can see that little bolt there, that needs to come off as well. You'll notice we had a pretty clean break on the gasket. Very little gasket material is remaining here, which is epic. So the next step is going to be remove this little bolt here, find out what size it is and remove it. Okay, so I stepped down to a 1/4 inch ratchet because the head is smaller, so I'm thinking it will fit a little better. Still doesn't fit the greatest. So the solution to that would be a swivel. Get a little swivel on there. And if this was loose enough, I'd probably just try to go at it with a screwdriver, but I think it's going to be a little bit tight. Okay. Oh, shit. Okay, there we go. Now I'm on it. And it is turnable like this, but it's definitely not ideal. We need to figure out something better. Okay, I successfully pulled out the retaining bolt for the pin here, and at this point what I need to do is I need to rotate the whole mechanism here so that I can access the pins that are keeping the axle in place. Alright, so now we're getting a little deeper into the disassembly of this axle. There's a clip here that was not in the YouTube video. It seems to be in there very tight, so I'm not 100% sure how this comes out. But I can see the clips that I need to get the axle out. So there's like this piece right here. I got the pliers on. That needs to come out. Okay, so I was actually wrong about that clip. This piece just kind of came right out. This is what is keeping the axle shafts separated. This is the pin I was talking about earlier. So I'm going to set that aside for now. And from here, I should be able to push in on the outside to expose the little C-clip. So at this point, I have both the wheels off the ground. Okay, so I just, whoops. Okay, so I just hopped out from underneath the van so I could push the axle inwards, and now I'm trying to remove this clip. I heard it fall out, but I can't see exactly where it went. So that's definitely not good. It's all the way back there. I'm hoping I can just get it to fall to the bottom. And that seems like it's not happening. But anyways, at this point the axle should slide right out. So for this part, it's really not ideal that I am in this kind of parking lot with a ton of grass in it, but so this is still caught up on something. I'm gonna have to get to the bottom of that. Okay, so it took a little bit of finagling, but oh shit. But I got this axle to slide out now, so I'm gonna keep some downward pressure on it so it doesn't rub up too bad on anything. Okay, that's pretty heavy. I'm gonna set it right up there. And at this point, we have the axle seal exposed. And you can see that it's got some damage, which would be contributing to this leakage. Okay, so now I'm struggling to remove the seal itself. And when I was at O'Reilly's, I asked for a seal removal tool, and the guy at the counter had never heard of it before. So I didn't get one of those, but I'm thinking that if I set this in here, hammer this, it'll pry it out. Maybe. Doesn't seem like it's working, to be honest. The seal is press fit, so basically if I can just get it a little loose, it should pop out, being that it's press fit on. And my wheel bearing is right here, so I'm gonna have to look and see if that's something else that I can work on while I'm in here. Yeah, basically this isn't working. So I think what I'm gonna do now is pull the CT70 out and go to the different part stores hunting down a seal puller. Everywhere that I went, everywhere that I called didn't rent these pullers. They only sold them. So $18. We'll see how hard it is to return later on. But oh, there we go. Got her out, and it's already covered in grass, but you can definitely see where it became compromised. So that's garbage. And now the icing on the cake is that all I need to do is press the new one back in, put the axle back in, put the differential back together, and I can go to the other side. But I gotta wait for the part to come in, and O'Reilly's supposed to call me at any time saying that the seals are in. They're supposed to be there at 2, which it is 2, but he said, yeah, it might be 2:30. So now I'm just gonna be sitting and waiting. But overall, wasn't that bad of a job. Kind of bites pretty hard. That I had to drain the differential, but that's just the process for this particular job. All right, guys, a little update. I capped off the axle hole there. Basically throwing in the towel today because it's a beautiful day, and my new friend, he was sleeping all day, but yeah, he's up now and he wants to go rock climbing, so that's the plan now. Alright guys, it's tomorrow, and I finally got the new axle seal in flush, so I might tap it just a couple more times. It was a pain to get this seal in because literally all I have is a ball peen hammer, but it's in. At this point, I need to clean the axle shaft and toss it in and put the clip back together in the differential, and then actually move to the other side, which is epic because this really had me stumped. And I just kind of gave up yesterday. I was like, all right, I'll try tomorrow. Yep, this is what it's all about, trial and error. We're getting through it though. Van life update. I got a hotel. The issue I was having working on the van, yeah, I was in over my head. You know, I didn't have the tools that I really needed. It wasn't ideal for me to work on that myself. So basically, it hurts your pride, you know, when you really think I can fix things, and then you're, you know, over 1,000 miles from home and you come across something that you actually can't fix. So I had my van towed to AAA. I had my van towed by AAA to a mechanic shop, and that was 2 days ago. They still haven't got it fixed. So I've been living out of this backpack right here, just like a hobo. So it's gonna cost quite a bit of money to have the professionals finish the job of the axle thing that my van needs. Kind of bites, it really does, it kind of bites, but you know what, it is what it is. That's the update. So anyways, I paid for 2 nights of the hotel, and now I am actually leaving. My time here is pretty much expired, so at this point I'm going back over to Jacob's apartment, which really grateful that he's letting me go ahead and crash at his place, especially because he lives only 2 miles from Chautauqua Park. So I'm going to be doing some adventuring today, that is for sure.